Okay, so I had just given you guys some time to play with Pixton. Now we're going to look and we're going to see how we can use it to create a story. Oops, sorry. Eyes on me. Eyes on me. Thank you. So we're going to use it to express how we can explain a story. So I want everybody to click on New Comic. How many parts do we have to our story? Who wanted but so big? So 5. So let's create 5 different frames.
I don't have a square.
4, 5.
Okay, in this first one, where did the story take place? Yes. At school. So let's have our background be school. So you should be typing in school. Go ahead. Yep, I want everybody typing in school, picking a background. You can pick any. Now, does all of ours have to be the same?
No.
No, that's the cool part. We can do whatever we like. I want my classroom to look like this.
So do we have to do it together? Do we have to if you do it, we have to find it?
Yes, you don't have to find the same one. You just have to find one.
Does it have to have seats?
It's yours? Is it mine?
No.
All I want is that it takes place where?
Like this.
All I want is yours to take place where?
School.
At school, because that's where our story takes place. So we're going to add a person, and we're going to create a person. You kind of look like Grace.
Who?
Grace was kind of 8 years old, female. So, we know that in our first box, we have what? In our first box, what do we have?
Who?
Who? We need somehow to tell our audience that this is who?
Who? Grace.
Grace. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce her. So maybe she talks. Let me move over. We're going to go with words. And I'm going to say, speech. My name is Grace. But look at Grace's face. She kind of looks angry, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Grace isn't really that kind of girl. She's more
She looks sad.
sad. Let's change it. Let's go to face. Let's go to expression. Nice. I'm also going to change her actions. Make her look a little bit more excited. Maybe she's jumping. No, that doesn't fit.
No, please, no. Whoa.
My name is Grace.
No.
Well, you can decide however you want. So what I'm going to do next, right? This is our first frame.
I don't know what you
What do you think we should put for our next frame? Wanted to spend the money. So a group of the kids figuring out how to spend the money. I'm going to send you back to your seats, and I want you to work on the rest. Go ahead and go back to your seats.
Mine is charging.
Oh, that's fine. You can say that.
It's because we want to spend the money, so a group of people, so they could spend all the money.
What would they be talking about?
They will be talking about
What-
friendship bond.
Not yet, because remember that's towards the end. What are they talking about in the wanted one? Grace wanted to what?
Spend the money.
So what would they be talking about?
Spending the money.
Perfect. Yes.
How you put it like to?
All right. So you're working on your third frame. What are we writing in there?
We're writing like people when we put like a background on.
Okay.
And then Grace introduces herself.
So if we're looking at the third one, which one is going to be our third frame?
So
And what happens in so?
they buy friendship say build.
So they build a friendship mall, okay? Or they decide to build the friendship mall, right? So then what could we do?
Outside, we could just type in outside friendship.
Okay, yeah, that would be where the friend. Actually, sorry, I think we. Oh, let's-
All right. All right. Hello again, Mr. Brown.
Hello.
Okay, so now you've taught the lesson and you've used the technology tool that we talked about, Pixton, to aid in your lesson about retelling.
Yes, correct.
So let's look over that checklist that I introduced to you last time that I used during my lesson and then you used during your lesson. So we talked about you read the story, and then I think that you did something a little bit. There's something you do differently when you talk about retelling. What is it that you do?
So we go for somebody wanted,
That's right.
but, and then so they did this, and then they did that. So we use those processes instead of beginning, middle, and end.
Okay. And then you introduced the app. How did introducing the app go?
Yeah, that went really well. The students were really excited about it. My kids this year seem to not be as, I don't know what I'm trying, they're not as like exploring. They don't really like to explore as much. So I kind of had to walk them through the process. But other than that, it went pretty well.
Okay, and then we monitored student engagement, which we'll talk about that data you gather in just a moment. You facilitated the retelling activity and then provided support when necessary.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so did you find the checklist helpful for you while you were teaching the lesson?
Yeah, it made it much smoother as we went through it. Kind of a guide to get through how to introduce this new product.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about the data you gathered because we were trying to increase engagement through your lesson, right? By integrating the technology tools. So let's look at your observation checklist that you took on your students. What did you notice, and were most students on task? Were they engaged?
So this one, yes, they were way more engaged than the first time when I did it. They just were interested in taking what they learned. I think that was the biggest part the first time, where we could talk about what they learned or how to retell the story. But this time, they were much more engaged in actually putting the product together.
Okay.
I did have a few that were kind of playing around more than working, but it all was like towards the same thing. They were trying to retell the story.
Okay, so in just a moment, we'll talk about maybe some adjustments we can make for the future.
Okay.
For now, let's talk about, did we meet our goal? So did you notice that at least 80% of your students were engaged on task?
Yes, yeah. It was maybe one or two that wasn't. So more than 80, yeah.
Okay, so we met our goal. So do you want to continue this goal and refine it a little bit? Do you want to choose a new goal, or would you like to take a break?
So when choosing a new goal, that's kind of starting over. Oh yeah, no. I think this one is just kind of refining. I think we really got a good thing
We're on the
going.
right
Yeah.
track. Okay, so you want to continue with this goal and refine it.
Yes.
Okay, so since we met our goal, but you mentioned that some of the students were like playing a little more, let's talk about some adaptations that we can make for the future.
Okay.
So one thing that I will say is I know that the more you use a new technology tool, the more the kids will get used to it, and it'll start becoming more routine and less exciting. So I think we just continue with it. And then what do you think about how you want to transfer the comic stripping retelling to writing?
Oh no, I think that would be a great idea because they can use those same things, like something happened to somebody, so they did this, so they can actually take that to start their writing pieces. Okay. And then I think adding those details in would be really good to flesh out their stories.
Perfect. And I also noticed on the app that there is speech bubbles, but there's also captions. So we could move on to captions instead of the speech. We could have both, so that way they are writing and
giving details to the.
Okay. So,
I also think that would be really cool for like dialogue, teaching them specifically that this person is talking. So when we write it in an actual story, that they can use quotation marks.
I love that. Yeah. So whenever someone's talking like on the comic strip, then we should be using quotation marks in your writing. I love that transfer. So maybe we'll continue with the comic stripping and kind of get the kids used to using it and make it more routine. And then maybe as they get more used to it, we can start incorporating other tech tools into your classroom. We can talk about that later, but introducing more as they get used to it.
Okay.
And one more thing that I was thinking, you said that some of the kids were off task and having too much fun, is maybe thinking of a way to regulate and monitor the use of the classroom. So sometimes something I do is I assign a couple of kids to be like maybe the ones that are really well behaved or are really good with the tech tool, to be kind of like my IT experts and monitor the students and how they're using the tool. And if they're really good at using it, they can also show them how to do certain things. So it takes less of the work off of you and more on the students.
Yes, I like that a lot.
Okay, so I think what we're saying is that we're going to continue with comic stripping, make more of a transfer into their writing, and then down the line, we'll talk about introducing other technology tools.
Yes, awesome.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds great.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Brown.
you, no problem.